What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the German Bear Podcast. And today I want to talk about the 2023 NFL Combine and specifically about the quarterback workout that happened yesterday and talk about how that could affect the Chicago Bears first round pick and the trade value of it. The 2023 NFL Combine is going on at the moment, and today will be the last day where we have drills and workouts. Today will be running backs and offensive linemen, and I haven't talked about the Combine a lot on the channel yet this season, but I'm super excited to talk about this topic today because I think really yesterday's workout with the quarterback, wide receiver, and tight ends really could affect the Chicago Bears' first overall pick massively. Now, to get it out of the way right away, I still want to talk about the receivers and tight ends for a quick second because I thought yesterday, I think it's day 4 of the 2023 NFL Combine, was so much fun to watch, especially the tight ends was probably the most fun group out of all of those because those guys are freakishly athletic, just so good, incredible deep tight end class, and I can't wait and see what those guys can do. I think Bears should definitely get out of that draft with at least one tight end. And gladly, I'm taking one in the later rounds as well because those guys are so deeply stacked and so good in the later rounds as well. So if the Bears were able to land a Will Mallory or a Luke Schoonmaker, right, that's great players that I'm super excited about and could fit into the tight end 2 role behind Cole Kmet immediately and could really form that dynamic duo, those 12 personnel or even 13 personnel groupings that we had last year under Luke Getsy. Were really efficient, and I think we could definitely use an upgrade at those positions. So those tight ends were absolutely phenomenal, and then the wide receivers as well. 2 guys that I love in this draft class. First of all, Josh Downs out of North Carolina, my favorite wide receiver in this draft class, I fear. He was phenomenal on the on-field workout as well, ran a good 40, sub 4.5, I think. And then also A.T. Perry, who ran a 4.47 40-yard dash, which is a great time for his size. You saw it on tape that he is fast, but I did not expect him to run sub 4.5, excuse me. So that was phenomenal as well. Very long wide receiver that looked like more of a long strider, but really made some quick cuts. And you saw it on the cuts as well, but like on the deep routes where he really was sprinting down the field. It's good seeing him just on the field, really looking explosive down there. So he had an excellent field workout as well, and those 2 guys are definitely guys that I will closely watch as the draft season goes on. But with that being said, we want to move on to the main topic today, which is talking about the quarterbacks at the NFL Combine. And with talking about the quarterbacks, I want to talk about 2 guys specifically that absolutely stood out to me during the entire day yesterday, which was, first of all, Anthony Richardson out of Florida and CJ Stroud out of Ohio State. I think Will Levis also had a pretty solid field workout and did some good stuff, but those 2 guys were absolutely phenomenal. And I want to start off talking about the first guy, which is Anthony Richardson. And Anthony Richardson out of Florida is a 6'4", 244-pound monster that tested absolutely phenomenal at the Combine. We're talking about probably the best testing numbers out of a quarterback ever at the Combine. The guy ran a 4.43, which is insane as a time nonetheless at 244 pounds. But in addition to that, he displayed his explosiveness with a 40.5-inch vertical jump and a 10'9" broad jump in there as well. So Anthony Richardson's testing numbers were through the roof. And then also his on-field workout, in my opinion, looked really good. And I think with the Combine, I think a lot of people at the moment especially don't like that people put too much into the numbers at the Combine, and I agree with that, but that shows how explosive an athlete is, and more importantly, those teams get a look during the Combine week, getting a close look to those players. They can talk to them, they can test their intelligence, their game knowledge, and also, especially for quarterbacks, those coaches could finally fall in love with those prospects because they will see them on the field for the first time, throwing in front of them and just showing out, right? And I think Anthony Richardson absolutely looked clean. The way the ball was coming out of his hands looked pretty good. I think technique-wise he can definitely improve, but the guy has so much potential, and you saw it, how the ball was flying out of his hands. Like, he has a super strong arm. You saw it on the deep balls as well, put very much or enough air under it for the receiver to run under it, was really accurate yesterday, and just had one heck of an entire combine day before. I think interviews went very well for him as well. So he's definitely a guy that helped his draft stock, which will then obviously, in addition, could help the Chicago Bears massively as well, because it just takes one team, and there are QB needy teams in this NFL draft. It just takes one team to fall in love with one of those guys to make them really jump up to number one and give up a lot of draft capital. And Anthony Richardson definitely helped himself and the Chicago Bears in that regard yesterday for sure. And then for the second guy that I want to talk about today is another Ohio State quarterback, former teammate of Justin Fields, CJ Stroud. At 6'3", 214 pounds, I think CJ Stroud's measurements look really good as well. I think 6'3" is an outstanding size for a quarterback, or a pretty good size for a quarterback. And the playing weight at 214 pounds is pretty damn good as well. Now for him, he did not do any on-field not any testings, excuse me. He did on-field drills, but no testings, no 40, nothing of that. But as we know, CJ Stroud is a very good passer, and he just showed that yesterday as well. When you looked at him, he had probably one of the most clean combine throwing sessions there ever has been. Darnell Jeremiah said it himself as well, and it really looked like it. Like, the guy was super accurate. The ball, even though it were new receivers, right? That's something you have to consider as well. They don't know the speed of those guys. They never had a connection with those players, which is so important for the quarterback position. But CJ Stroud adjusted to it through lasers all day long. So much anticipation. You saw it in those drills as well. And then the deep ball looked absolutely beautiful as well. And then the footwork too. Like, he is such an all-around great prospect. Now, does he have his flaws at the moment with decision making at times, and then just as soon as the pocket collapses, he will have his problems as well. But I think CJ Stroud is really getting to become my favorite quarterback in this year's draft class. Now, obviously, Bryce Young did not throw yesterday, right? He did just measure in and had some interviews and stuff. He'll throw at the Alabama Pro Day. But I think CJ Stroud is really helping himself at the moment with what he's putting out there, and looked once again absolutely phenomenal, just like Anthony Richardson yesterday as well. And with that, I quickly want to mention how this could affect the Chicago Bears draft stock, or the draft or trade value for that number one overall pick. And just like I said, it just takes one GM to fall in love with those players, and for the first time they could really see them in front of them, just really exposed to the media. They were throwing alone, standing alone there, just throwing to one wide receiver, all cameras on those guys, right? They're under a lot of pressure as well. And then as a GM, as the head coach, especially, I'm looking at Carolina, I'm looking at the Raiders, I'm looking at the Colts, obviously, as well. And then obviously at number 2, the 2 overall pick, the Texans as well. There were 4 very much QB needy teams, and we did not speak about potentially the Lions looking for a quarterback to develop behind Jared Goff, or maybe the Seahawks behind Geno Smith, right? The top 10 is filled with teams that could potentially take a quarterback, and it just, like I said, takes one guy to fall in love with them, to trade up with the Chicago Bears. And I think the Combine really helped that to be or be a possibility, a real possibility for the Chicago Bears. Obviously, we want as much as we can get in return for that number 1 overall pick. And Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud, with their phenomenal combine workout, definitely helped that in that kind of regard. And with that being said, that's the end of the video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Definitely let me know in the comments down below what you think of CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson's combine outlook and what they put out there. And also definitely let me know what you thought about the fun tight end and wide receiver group at the combine. Like and subscribe if you liked the video. Check out Instagram and Twitter if you want to as well. And as always, guys, bear down.